Hey, so I have had a haircut today. Just to proceed before anyone asks, I have had a haircut long overdue, I think. I want to talk about an issue that is very personal for me because I personally went through it on this exact case, obviously, but I really can relate to it. I'm just going to read out the report because it's not very long. This is in today's Metro, the free newspaper in the UK. This is the report I'm reading. A father of two was savagely beaten by a gang of teenagers armed with baseball bats after he told them to stop throwing stones at his brother's van. Simon Clark went outside his house to complain and was set upon by a group of 35 youngsters, i.e., scumbags. As he approached them, one shouted, "Die, you bastard," while the rest piled into him and struck him repeatedly on the head. Police are studying CCTV footage of the attack on New Year's Day, which left Mr. Clark, 44, needing stitches to his scalp. "I saw five lads outside, so I went out in my pyjamas to tell them to clear off," said the support worker from Baildon, West Yorkshire. But dozens more emerged from the shadows and rushed him, with one shouting, "Get back in your house while you still can." His brother George, 50, ran out to help and, despite being hit by a golf club, eventually carried him inside. "If it wasn't for him, things could have been a lot worse. They were just absolute maniacs," said Mr. Clark, who had the CCTV installed because of recent trouble. West Yorkshire Police said officers are carrying out inquiries to establish who was responsible for this attack and their motives. Um, Crime is a subject that I have very strong views on, especially this sort of crime, because about 13 years ago, me and my family had to leave our home basically because of the behaviour of gangs, getting windows smashed, being assaulted on the street, this sort of thing. And believe me, that sort of experience has a lasting impact. Um, it's not really comparable. For example, if you have your bike stolen or something stolen in a shop, it's frustrating and it's hurtful, but to have that sort of persistent problem when you're living with gangs like around you, it really has a deep psychological impact. So I can really empathize with what this man must have went through. I was never beaten up like that, but I was assaulted on a few occasions. There isn't enough adjectives to describe what I think of people like that. Those sort of criminals, I think they're the scum of the earth, and I actually would have no problem with Singapore style justice. I mean, I really do take the view that this sort of quality of life infraction type crime should be dealt with by absolutely no mercy whatsoever. As soon as these little fuckers are found, I want them to be hunted down, I want them to be found, and I want them to be locked up for a long time. Unfortunately, that probably won't happen. They'll probably end up doing community service, which is an utter disgrace. I mean, they could have killed the man, and that is not an exaggeration. It's happened before. Gary Newlove in Manchester about 8 years ago now was killed by a pack of thugs. And there's been other examples. A young father in London was killed about 10 years ago in this sort of incident. And obviously, this man's already had hassle because he's had to install CCTV. I will commend the man for his courage in standing up to them, but they're gutless little worms that they have to attack in a pack of 35. I really think civil punishment would be something that forces them to rethink ever doing something like this again and forces them to pay for what they've done. I'd do them, if I was a judge, I'd do them for attempted murder. But I do think they should be forced, for example, to wear t shirts saying, "I am a card. I am a criminal thug who tried to beat up a man for defending his property." I would force them to wear it. I would force them to parade around Bradford or Leeds city centre wearing that top before they get a lengthy custodial sentence, a little fucker. And if you think I'm angry now, believe me, I'm making this video when I'm calmer. Because this is the sort of thing that really gets my blood boiling. And what I find just as unacceptable as the event itself is people who go out of their way to make excuses for them. There should be no mercy for this sort of case. None. And it is a big, big problem in the UK. Now, I don't want to sort of throw out statistics of saying we're getting worse, we're getting better. It's hard to tell. Overall, crime supposedly is going down, but that's of no comfort to people who have to put up with this stuff. And like I say, it's very different having to live with it from being a victim of an isolated crime. I mean, when my bike was stolen, it was very frustrating, and it's a big inconvenience, but it's not the same as a daily wearing down sort of situation. Um, a few years ago, there was a woman, Fiona Pilkington in Leicestershire, very sad case. She begged for police help over and over and over again, and shamefully, the police just didn't take it seriously enough, and she ended up taking her own life. But she could no longer psychologically take the pressure that she was under, and her teenage daughter died as well. I really do believe that, I look around the world and I see different justice systems, and I do think there's some things we could borrow. What I like about the American system, and I don't agree with everything about it, but one thing I do like is, for example, the concept of prison uniforms. I've no problem with that. Singapore doesn't take any shit from antisocial behaviour. I'd borrow some of that. I think in Europe, there's many, many things I can praise about being a European society, all the rest of it. But I do think when it comes to crime, we are pathetically lenient. And it varies from country to country. The further north you get, the more lenient it becomes. But it's not just a British problem. I mean, in Germany recently, New Year's Eve, 90 women were attacked in one night by gangs of predominantly North African young men, as they were described. There's allegations this was covered up at the time, but that is not normal. Even in a big city like Cologne, that is not normal. 90 victims in one night. Shamefully, the mayor of Cologne sounds like she was victim blaming, saying these women should keep a distance. Um, if these people are, I don't want to throw out and say, oh, they're immigrants, and I don't want to get into that realm necessarily, but the reports do suggest they were predominantly North African. They surrounded these women and their partners, and like the worthless cards that they were, thought they could take liberties. Clearly, the scumbags here in Baildon have done the same thing. And it's just the most frustrating thing is not that it happens in the first place, but the lack of justice. I just know these little fuckers, even if they are caught, they'll get a tap on the wrist. They'll maybe have to do community service. It sickens me. Really, really sickens me. Anyway, I'll have to close this because running out of bandwidth. But that sort of crime, specifically antisocial behaviour, I think it's just despicable, and no one should underestimate the effects that has on a victim. And I just hope this man gets some sort of closure with justice.